The New York Yankees got swept by the Boston Red Sox, and there's a lot I wanted to talk about in this series. Now, look, I know the Red Sox trading Rafael Devers is the biggest story now in terms of Red Sox conversations, and honestly is going to dominate MLB headlines to the point where this series sweep isn't going to have the same level of publicity or conversation to it that it may have had otherwise. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that trade doesn't definitely make me feel a little bit better about that sweep, knowing that Rafael Devers, someone who tortures us, is no longer going to be a part of this rivalry. But doesn't mean I didn't see some things I wanted to talk about, or it doesn't mean I didn't see things that I thought were concerning, or it doesn't mean I didn't see things I thought were unacceptable. But I also wanted to provide some level of, I guess the word would be not cope as much as it would be just like level-headedness. You know, when we talked about that first Brewers series, I remember saying you never want to get too high and you never want to get too low. You win 3 straight, great, awesome, but you have to find yourself not getting too high, because when you then lose 3 in a row, you're going to get really low. And I remember repeating that earlier in the year. And when we're in June, this is when that kind of conversation is most important, because you've played so many games, you've had so many heartbreaks, you've had so many triumphs. Now you need to figure out whether this is going to be something that, you know, stops you from getting to where you want to be, or if this is just a bump in the road that you end up looking back on and going, remember when that happened? That was so dumb. Thankfully, it didn't really matter. So we're going to talk about this series. We're going to talk about some of the things I didn't like to see and more. Before we do everything, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Check out Fireside Yankees on all of your favorite social media platforms. Now, let's talk about some of the things I saw from this series that really did frustrate me. And the first thing was the effort level. I did not feel like the Yankees played this series as if it was the Boston Red Sox and you're playing in Fenway Park and you have an opportunity to beat a Red Sox team that was treading water. They were below 500 before you played them. Now they're above 500. You had a massive lead in the division. That lead has shrunk to 3.5 games. They were, way out of first place. Now they're 6.5 out of first place. Now, I don't really view the Red Sox as a massive threat now without Devers, and because that trade that they did with Devers did not prioritize major league immediate, like 2025 value as much as it may have, been a thing where they just did not feel the contract was worth what Devers was because of his off-field stuff and because of the fact he was a DH and, just trying to load up on the future, because Kyle Harrison isn't joining the team at the major league level. He's more of a multi-year project. James Tibbs, again, multi-year project, not even the big leagues yet, although he will play in Double-A. And Jordan Hicks, not what I would consider to be a productive pitcher. He is more of a quality reliever than he is a serviceable starter. Now, they did need some bullpen support. I think he will help there, but he is not a net positive contract. Now, looking at the Devers situation, that guy being gone just makes you focus a lot more on the Blue Jays and the Rays. And those are two teams who are now back in the division race when it looked like they were out of it perhaps earlier in the year, or that they weren't going to be very involved or make things very interesting. Now, they have played very good baseball, and you have played not so great baseball. So they have caught up a little bit. Maybe those tides will turn for the Yankees, and they will play better baseball while those two teams cool down. But I don't understand why this team played with the effort level they did in Boston. And I don't often say effort. I don't often mention trying hard or intensity, because I don't believe those are things that teams usually lack in games. It's a 1 out of 162. I get they're not going to play that game like it's game 7 of the World Series, but Trent Grisham lobbing in a 63-mile-an-hour throw on a play where Trevor Story hits an RBI single. He's rounding first. He is aggressively rounding first. He at no point slows down. There's no point where you think, he's not going to go for it. You see him rounding first. Trent Grisham took a lackadaisical rep, did not do enough to pay attention to Story, and did not respect that Story was going to go for it. The Yankees looked, just foolish on that play. That's the kind of stuff where Hunter Dobbins is on the mound. That's the guy who publicly spoke about you. And did not do so in a tasteful manner. Did so in a rather, in a manner to obviously disparage the Yankees a little bit. Now, whether what he said was true or not, we now know to be false, but the Yankees, they can't say, well, he lied. Well, guess what? He won. He beat you twice. So that really rubs me the wrong way when a player can speak about you and your response is losing twice to that pitcher. That does not rub me the right way. Jason Minguez, incredibly brain dead play at second base. Ben Rice getting caught stealing in the Sunday game. What are we doing? Anthony Volpe in extra innings. Why are you stealing third with no one out? Manfred runner, lefty up at the plate, not a righty. Clear angle for Carlos Narvaez, who's a great thrower, to get the throw down and nail a runner advancing to third. These are the kinds of mistakes that just really rub me the wrong way and really make me wonder, did this team show up to beat Boston, or did they show up like this was just a game against the Athletics, a game against the Reds, a game against the Pirates where, you don't really care. You're just going to show up and you're just going to win because they're not that good. That is embarrassing. They put out an embarrassing effort, and it should not be regarded as anything other than an embarrassing effort. I refuse to acknowledge it as anything other than an embarrassing effort. That was disgusting. That was a disgusting effort in Boston. And again, the Devers trade will obviously take over headlines and be the biggest story of the weekend. But that is something the Yankees did not control. They did not trade for Rafael Devers. They did not make the big trade. Their rival made the big trade, and it did not involve them. Again, the Yankees should be very happy that Rafael Devers is gone. This is a huge win for the Yankees because in the short term, where the Yankees are going to have their best shots to contend for a World Series, they do not have to contend with a Rafael Devers who has murdered them throughout his entire career. But this is just so dumb. This is so dumb. That was such a dumb series that they played. I really don't understand where the intensity is. Where is the drive to beat the Boston Red Sox? You've lost 5 straight to the Red Sox now. You are below 500 playing the Red Sox. You're 8 since 2021. You're 8-11 against the American League East over the season. That can't happen. That can't happen. That's disgusting. I mean, you have played so well against everyone else, and for some reason you can't beat the AL East. If you've beaten up on the AL East, if you're 11-8 against the AL East, you're comfortable in first place. No one's close to you. No one's touching you. And you can look at previous games this year where they've pissed away opportunities. That entire series in Boston, 1-run losses, pissing away the Manfred run, pissing away in Game 2, opportunities to score. Game 3, leadoff double, can't score them. Runners on first and second, Rice gets picked off. Anytime the Yankees had runners in scoring position, they couldn't do diddly squat. They hit like shit in that series, especially in big spots. That's pissing away games. If you took one in Boston, let's say you lost 2 straight series, but you took one, I'd sit here and say, not a great series, and especially after they traded Devers, I'd say, who cares? Couldn't care less. Don't care. Don't care at all. Now, looking at some of the things in previous AL East games, Devin Williams blowing 2 games against the Rays and the Blue Jays in games the Yankees should absolutely have won. Disgraceful. Yankees in Baltimore not taking 2 of 3 against a bad, slumping, hurting Orioles team. Disgraceful. Last weekend against Boston. I mean, game 3, Aaron Boone leaving Carlos Rodon out there against Carlos Narvaez when he was clearly not having it after saving your bullpen and not being aggressive with your bullpen earlier in the day before. That's just nonsense. Where is the urgency to beat these teams? That's something that bothers me. That does bother me. But when we talk about long-term outlook, that's short-term. That's short-term frustration. That's in-the-moment frustration. Let's talk long-term here. The New York Yankees have been swept by the Boston Red Sox this year. That sucks. That blows. Let me give you something that's crazy, though. Each of the last 4 World Series champions have been swept by a division rival. Crazy, right? Dodgers by the Giants, that's the equivalent of the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry for the West Coast. Now, in 2023, the Texas Rangers were swept by the Houston Astros, who they played in the ALCS and lost the division to and blew it on the last day. They got swept in September. In their most recent matchup, I believe, of that year, they got swept. So that wasn't great either. And that did suck for the Rangers. And they ended up beating them in the ALCS and going on to win the World Series. So there's that as well. 2022, the Astros got swept by the Athletics. Probably the least consequential rivalry of the group there. So I know that doesn't really feel the same, but it is still a division rival sweeping a World Series champion. And then in 2021, to start the season, the Phillies swept the Braves. So, and then that is a contested rivalry, a rivalry between 2 very, competitive teams that had playoff aspirations that season. Although the Phillies were unable to get there, the Braves won a very weak NL East after a really good second half. Point is, teams who win World Series titles have faced this kind of adversity and have had these kinds of road bumps. So this doesn't disqualify the New York Yankees from winning a World Series. If your statement today is they cannot win the World Series and they will definitely not win the World Series because they lost to the Boston Red Sox 3 times in a row and they've lost 5 of their first 6 matchups against them, I think that's short-sighted. I know that everyone's going to reference 2009, and I don't really like referencing 2009 because that was so long ago. Number one, the format and how many games you play against division rivals is different. Number two, and number three, the 2009 Yankees got off to a bad start and then figured it out. They didn't get off to a great start and then we're just losing to Boston. So a little bit of a different circumstance there. It's not a one-to-one comparison. I like comparing to more recent examples because it's a more recent regular season climate, a more recent regular season schedule. The play everyone schedule that we have seen, that is something we got in 2023, I believe. No, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Those are kind of the years where we started seeing those you play everyone years. Not 2022. I think it was 2023. Could be wrong. Could be very wrong there. Point is, the New York Yankees are not going to be eliminated from World Series contention after this weekend. And they're still in first place. You would rather be you than the Red Sox. And that obviously gets exclamated by them trading Devers. But even before that, you would rather be you than them. You would rather be in first place than in fourth place. So these things do matter. The Yankees are still a very good team. They had a very bad weekend. They had not been swept all year until this point in time. And then now you have to look at the future. So the next 4 series that you're going to play, 4 against the Angels, 3 against the Orioles, 3 against the Reds, and I think it's 4 against the Athletics. I think. I could be wrong. Or it might be 3. I'm not 100% certain. Point is, you're playing 4 straight teams that have not really been this very good this season. They have not been quality opponents this year. So you have to play well against them. The Reds aren't a pushover. They're not god awful. They're probably the best team in that group, but the Athletics have been really bad. The Angels have meddled. The Angels also have not been a complete pushover, but they were just swept by the Orioles, so maybe they are kind of a pushover. The Orioles, I would consider, they're playing better baseball, so I don't consider them like, hey, if you don't sweep them, it's an embarrassment, but you need to take 2 out of 3. And then when you look at the Reds, again, they're probably the best team in that schedule, and they're still a below 500 team. I think you have 12 games against those teams, or 13, something like that. You need to beat up on those teams. Like, you need a 9-4 stretch in that stretch right there. Because if you go 9-4, you find yourself at, let's say, 51-32. You're almost 20 games above 500. And unless the Rays go on an absolute heater and keep up just an unsustainably hot stretch of baseball, you're probably going to gain games on them in the division. If you end up even only gaining 2 games on them and end up being 5.5 up in the division, you put yourself in a spot where, you're comfortable in your position at first place in the American League East. But again, it comes down to executing against these teams, putting this series behind you, playing crisp, good baseball. What I like is that the Yankees didn't get, and I'm not going to say like, what I don't hate is that the Yankees didn't get outplayed entirely. I know they didn't lead for a single game, but they lost by 1 run, and 2 runs. That's a swing here, a swing there, a bloop here, a bloop there, versus utter domination. Like, the Dodgers beat the crap out of the Yankees. That wasn't good. The Tigers manhandled the Yankees. The Yankees lost 3 straight close games. Can they start winning those close games again? Can the Yankees maybe not have to play these close games because they're playing lesser opponents? Those are things that you have to take into account. So can the Yankees play better baseball than this? Absolutely. Can we see the bats wake up? Absolutely. A weekend ago, the bats were great. The pitching was bad. A weekend later, the pitching is bad. The pitching's great. The offense is bad. Things like that can happen. They just swept Kansas City. That's awesome. That's cool. That's a team that has kind of looked more bad than good this year, so I won't consider them a particularly high-quality opponent. But again, when we start looking at where the Yankees are at right now, where they need to be in the future, if you play really good baseball against these bad teams and you put yourself in a position where you're comfortably above 500, you're comfortably in first place, you don't feel threatened for the division, who cares that you got swept by Boston? That's how I'm going to view it. But you have to play better baseball. This can't become a June swoon. This has to be one blip in the radar, one bad stretch, a couple of bad games here and there. You have to turn this ship around, because if you're going to play not great baseball, if you're going to play meh baseball, 500 baseball for the next month, you're going to lose the American League East. And if you lose the American League East after the hot start you got off to, that would be wildly disappointing. So again, can the New York Yankees turn this around? Absolutely. They have to play like it, though. They have to play quality baseball against opponents that they should beat. And when you play your AL East opponents again, you cannot lose another series. You can't. You have to start beating these teams. You just do. You have to play better baseball. The Yankees have to play better baseball in big games, and you need to take these games more seriously. I'm sorry, that effort level was disgusting. If they want to tell me that's their best effort, then I'm concerned. That was not their best effort. They did not put their best foot forward. I'm not saying that, say, the Red Sox didn't play well. This is no credit to the Red Sox. They played brilliant baseball, pitched beautifully. Awesome execution on the mound. Again, it's beyond me why they would trade Rafael Devers when I got the opinion and the feel that this was a team that is better than the record suggests, because the run differential suggests it, the expected win-loss record suggests it, their wins above replacement as a team suggests it. So not sure why they just punted on the season, basically, because they've gotten nothing in return that's going to help them right now. Jordan Hicks is on the IL. Kyle Harrison's going to be in AAA. James Tibbs is a minor leaguer, and I believe it's Jose Bayo. He's also a minor leaguer. So no one there that's going to help them in the immediate future. No one's going to help them in Seattle when they go on this West Coast trip. No one who's going to help them in San Francisco when they got to play Devers in a week. None of that stuff. So that is on them, but that's independent of the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees did not control it. They did not make that happen. They do not deserve credit for it. So I'm not praising them that Devers got traded for the Yankees in that regard. I'm going to just sit here and tell you, hey, they got a blessing because the Red Sox just torpedoed their season. You have to take advantage of these things. So I just think that, look, it's one bad series, and it was a very bad series with very lackluster effort, but it's not the end of the season for the New York Yankees, and it should not be talked about as the end of the season or this moment where the Yankees are frauds. Look, this is a reality check for the Yankees, where their effort level was dog shit and got exposed. It was dog shit, was not good. And they have to play better they have to play better after that series. They have to play really good baseball over the next few games. I don't want to hear, they're just playing 500 ball. They're just scuffling a little. They're playing bad teams. They're playing really bad teams. There's no 500 stretch you can have against bad teams. You're going to play bad teams. You better play up to competition. You better play like these games matter a ton. Now you got to make up for the games you lost against Boston because you lost 5 out of 6. You got to make up for that loss in Los Angeles, 2 out of 3 there. I believe you're either 4-6 or 5-5 in your last 10. Again, you got games to make up for now. Now you got to put the foot on the pedal again, and let's play the kind of baseball that we were playing in May. Let's play that high intensity. We wake up today, we're going to win today kind of baseball. The kind of baseball that it was losing is unacceptable. Clark Schmidt beside himself in absolute fury because he lost 1 game to the Rockies. That's the kind of baseball the Yankees need to be playing again. Not the, Trevor Story's rounding first. Don't need to throw this ball in. Don't need to rush this throw. Let's take our time here. Hey, don't need to know the amount of outs. This ain't a big game. It's not like it's 2 on, 2 outs. Opportunity to take the lead here. Hey, Ben Rice, don't need to be locked in, and I got to try to steal third with 2 outs for some unspeakable reason. Anthony Volpe, I got to try and steal third with no one out and a left-handed hitter up and a situation where the game's tied, and I'm the free run because if Jason Dominguez even grounds out here, which I know he ended up striking out, but the premium on contact with no one on and no one out one out is just not there. The value of grounding out versus striking out, there's no difference. For Jason Dominguez, he's probably thinking, all right, the guy's out. I'm not going to try and put the ball in play here as much. I'm going to try and take a big swing and get on base here. Those are the kinds of mistakes you can't make, right? They have to be better in road extra inning games. That is another thing. Oh my God, are they bad in those situations? But it has to get better. It has to be better than this. The effort level has to be better than this because it was horseshit this weekend. And again, I really want to emphasize that. It was unacceptably bad this weekend. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes a really good team doesn't put their best foot forward, has a bad day, doesn't show up the way they need to. They don't come correct. There's no team that has played 162 games and you feel like the effort level was great for 162 games and then the postseason. Never seen that in my life. No team is perfect, but they have to start playing better baseball now because the schedule favors them a lot more now. This is where you're supposed to get fat. And if you're not going to do it, if you're going to do what you did in the last few years, you don't have that cushion, right? It's like the Orioles kind of collapsed for you last year. It helped you give yourself some wiggle room to get back on track. The Rays aren't going to collapse for you. The Jays aren't going to collapse for you. They're going to keep playing good baseball, and they're going to play solid baseball, and they're going to be on your ass all year. They smell blood in the water. They're going to try and go out and take those games. You're not going to be able to rely on a team collapsing on you, or even a couple years ago in 2022 where you were just leagues better. You had like a 10-game lead in the division in like July. That's not the case either. So you can't collapse like you did then either. You have to play consistent and good baseball. You're getting Stanton back. That's a huge thing. And Giancarlo Stanton's return, I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but that's going to be huge for the New York Yankees. This has to get better, and Stanton's going to help. They're going to have, again, an easier schedule to play, some easier opponents, some more favorable pitching matchups, but they have to take advantage, and that's where I'm going to leave things off here. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, check out Fireside Yankees on all your favorite social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. Ryan Garcia ESM on Twitter, that's my Twitter account, EmpireSportsMedia.com, that's our website, written coverage of the New York Yankees and all of your favorite New York sports teams. Knicks, hey, off season's important for the New York Knicks right now. If you're a Mets fan, which I don't know why you'd be watching Fireside Yankees, but you know, I appreciate you being here. Fireside Mets, we have an Instagram page for that, but the website, we've got Mets coverage. Giants fans, hey, look, this is a very important summer for the New York Giants and a very important season for Brian Dable and Joe Shane. Rangers, Islanders have the first overall pick. Rangers, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do, but they need help. Written coverage, and written coverage. All of your favorite New York sports teams, Jets. We got everything you need. EmpireSportsMedia.com. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go, Yankees. Peace out.
Perfect.